Hi guys, welcome to Learn Electronics Repair. I have a parcel here. Now, what's in the parcel? Well, this is interesting because the company Tomlov contacted me and said, Richard, we watch your videos, we think you would like to use this product. And when I had a look, I thought, you know what, I think you're right. So they said if I will make a review video, then I can have this. So let's have a look what they've sent me. Here's a quick glance at what we have. So this is a USB microscope, but it's not just a normal average USB microscope. So 4K recording, 52 megapixel resolution, okay, a 360-degree spin arm bracket with a large base, 8-inch UHD. So this is a 4K microscope, yeah. Screen built in, okay, Sony high quality sensors, extra ring lighting for ample lighting, provides a target thumbnail for precise observation while zooming in, that might be useful, and supports 3 screen simultaneous display. Connect to your PC, external monitor, and I assume the built-in monitor. It said 3 screen at the same time. So this really got my interest. And I hope this is going to get your interest too, yeah? So let's have a look to see what's in the box. And there we have an upside down microscope. So the first thing I'll mention, this is actually quite heavy. I'm not sure if it specifies the weight on here. We can see it includes a 64 gig micro SD. Okay, you can see it tells us there what's actually in here. So resolution 4K 30 frames per second, 1080p at 60. Okay. And a smiley face to Richard. Please enjoy this TM4K on your electronics adventures. Keep up the fan content journey from Tomlov Microscopes. Okay. Here's the user manual, just a quick look, all in English. Yep, all in English. And here's the microscope. So I'll put this together and then let's have a look to see what this looks like in the metal. You'll be pleased to hear that this microscope is actually very easy to put together. The user manual is really good. I was supplied with an English language manual. We can see here, so it's very clear, quite concise. It shows you how to put this together. It's very simple. A quick start. Although to be quite honest, this thing is really intuitive. I didn't really need to use the manual at all. Parts description, so we have a remote control. Okay, the various outputs are all shown on here. It actually has 2 power supplies, or we could say 3, because this is actually battery powered. And I've been playing around with this a little while yesterday, trying the various features, and the battery seems to last for ages from what I can see. It charges via the USB-C, it comes with a power supply, or you can just effectively, if you're connecting this to your PC, it's going to charge it anyway, okay? The remote control is very simple. As you can see, it's standard USB-C charging, saying 2 to 3 hours to charge the microscope. There's a separate power supply for the ring light. But there's also lights built into the microscope itself, which runs when it's on the USB. I'll actually show you that because you can get some very useful lighting effects I've noticed when looking at circuit boards and components with this. So we'll play around with that and you'll see what I mean. I was quite impressed actually with the lighting on this, I have to say. The menu I found to be very intuitive. It has some interesting picture freeze modes and a split screen mode where you can see a small magnification and a large magnification on both sides of the screen. I'll show you that. I'm not totally sure on the split screen how useful it is. It's nice to have, but the freeze mode is quite nice because it makes it very easy to make comparisons between two or more circuit boards. This is the split screen I mentioned, so you can see on one side like a less magnified, and then the little red box shows you the area. It's like a viewfinder. Imagine like on a telescope where you have a small telescope to help you position it, that sort of thing. So you see the small and the large image. I found a few features that are not actually mentioned in the manual. I'll show you one I found which I thought was quite interesting actually. Okay, this explains connecting to your PC, and you can connect this to a PC, Windows or a Mac. Okay, I connected it to my PC and ran OBS, which is my recording software. It found this as a video capture device, no problem. Again, it's mentioning that you can actually have three displays. You can have PC, built-in monitor and HDMI at the same time. That may be very useful depending on your setup. And a few more advanced features such as white balance and such like. I have the TM4K version. This has the 8-inch UHD color monitor, and there is also a 10-inch or rather 10.1-inch version as well, so you can actually get an upgraded version with a larger screen if you want. I found the 8-inch perfectly usable, but again, I guess that's down to your personal preference. Okay, so that's enough time looking at the user manual. Let's have a look at what we really want to see, and that's the microscope. And here it is in all its glory. So the first thing you'll notice, this has a really broad, and this is heavy. I mean, I can't show you that, I can tell you this is heavy, this base. So a very broad and heavy, stable stand. This takes up quite a bit of space on my bench. But having said that, so does my optical microscope. It takes even more space. Yeah. Tomlov tell me they have or will have a flexible arm for attaching this microscope, which saves a lot of bench space, so that's something interesting. Hopefully they will send me one and we can have a look at that as soon as it's available. I think in my situation, because I don't have a lot of room on my bench, as you can see, that would probably work better. But again, this is really down to your own personal circumstances. There are two cables attached to the microscope, so this is the power for the ring light, and this is the HDMI which I'm using at the moment. We will try the USB later because I want to show you how that actually works. Now you can see I can actually extend this quite a long way out, so if I rotate this into this position, and we have a tightening ring here to lock it into this position. Okay, I can actually extend the microscope beyond the end of the stand. This is ideal if you put this near the edge of your bench. I'll show you in a little while, but I can actually hold a circuit board like a motherboard edge on if I want to look, for example, down the USB connectors for damage, that sort of thing. That's really nice. I can also actually rotate this all the way around so it will swing round behind the stand. It's probably easier to show you this using the side camera. One moment, guys. There you go. So you can see now that this articulates very well. Okay, it will actually move in pretty much any direction. Basically 360 degrees you have on this. It also angles both ways here, so you should really be able to get this into any position you want, even if you're working on the largest of PCBs. I mean, for me, probably ATX is the largest I would use. And you can see quite clearly, I can view the entire board, yeah, easily. That's the first USB microscope I've really seen that does that, especially out of the box, so I have to give that top marks for that. This is usually one of my complaints, that I can't get the PCB far enough under the microscope to examine or solder. Okay, Working distance is very good. This will actually mount quite a lot higher than this, another, I guess, 10 centimeters or so. We also have the adjustment on here, so we can alter the height, which alters the magnification as well. So the stand is really, really nice. Those bright-eyed ones amongst you may have noticed this little thing on my desk as well. This is an anti-glare or anti-reflective filter, can we call it, that fits onto the microscope. So let's have a look down the microscope using the UV filter, which is what's already on there, without this anti-reflective filter. We'll have a look at the lighting to see how well that works, and then we'll fit this and let's see what difference it makes. And here is our first look through the microscope. You'll see in the inset picture I can actually adjust the magnification by using this control here. So I have this one set about 10 centimeters from the top, and this is set at the top of the adjustment here. Now I'll just show you the range of magnification adjustment you get by altering the knob here. So that was from the furthest to the closest. Okay, obviously once we've adjusted that, we need to adjust the focus. Okay, and we get quite a good range of adjustment without actually altering the main one here. We can mount it much closer and get a greater magnification, but then obviously you're reducing the working distance. The way I have it set at the moment, on the highest magnification I have, well, let's get a ruler. Yeah, I have 10 centimeters of space between the board and the microscope, and on the highest position using this, I have 16 centimeters of space. I think that's probably a very good compromise for working distance, and we can move the microscope closer to get more magnification, but this obviously reduces the amount of space you have to work. But this also is a very good demonstration of another feature I like about this microscope. So we're back at the greatest magnification for this setting here, okay? Now I have a digital zoom on the microscope, but normally with digital zoom what's going to happen is that you lose resolution. Effectively you're cropping the picture and magnifying the remainder of it. Now the microscope has two modes. It has 1080p HD at 60 frames a second, and it has 4K at 30 frames a second. Personally, I would go for the higher frame rate. I hope you can see even if I'm moving this. Let's try to move it quickly. Yeah, I don't get any line tearing or anything like that. It's very responsive. There's absolutely no lag whatsoever. That's why I would usually say I would stick with the 4K. But if I want more magnification, still maintain a good working distance, I can switch the microscope into 8K and then effectively use the digital zoom up to 4 times without losing any definition. That's because the picture on the screen here of the microscope, okay, 4K, the video coming out to your external monitor is 1080p, and it's always 1080p regardless of the setting on here. So when we take a 4K image and we zoom in to that, so effectively 4 times if you like, we still have 1080p output at the end. Okay, let's just try it. I've pointed the webcam at the microscope screen. In the background you can see the output from the microscope to my monitor. So we can just go into the menu, video mode, okay, and I'll set this to 4K. So the image on the screen now is in 4K, but the image on the monitor is still at 1080. Now I'll just show you the digital zoom. I simply use the left and right arrows on the remote. I can also use this, by the way, to access the menus as well. So we'll zoom in a bit. And you can see we've got a lot of zoom there, and yet we haven't lost any resolution. Still extremely sharp. Just adjust the focusing slightly. And to me, really that is the main advantage to having the 4K on the microscope. We can work at 1080p with the external monitor and maintain a very good working distance with very high magnification. Even though we're in 4K, we don't get much lag. You can see the slight lag yourself compared with the 1080, which is why I would use 1080 normally, unless I want the extreme magnification. And sometimes I do, okay? But that's really the difference. Now, I mentioned the lighting on this microscope. What I'm going to do now is to turn down the lighting on the actual ring light. And it gives you like a much flatter image. That's the best way I can describe it. But I found by adjusting this, the brightness, so the built-in LEDs are always the same brightness. The ring light you can adjust. And I find that you can get a kind of a sweet spot that makes it very good at displaying the part numbers on chips. You see that's with just the built-in lighting, and that's with the ring light at various brightnesses. I'll just tilt the board slightly. Yeah, I can see the chips upside down. Let's go this way round. Yeah, there. So you can see, you can actually read the part numbers. I mean, it's not very clear on this chip, but you can read it. Okay. So the way this handles the lighting, I very much like. Now, hopefully you can see there's quite a bit of reflection around on here. So I'm now going to add the anti-reflective filter, and we'll see what difference it makes. Fitting the anti-reflective filter is very easy. There's a little cover at the bottom of the microscope. This has the UV filter, so this just clips off. We put the anti-reflective filter in, we clip the UV filter back on. So the two work together. And I hope you can see straight away that that has removed almost all the reflection, the highlights coming from the lighting, okay? It also changes the effect of turning the ring light off. So with the ring light on minimum now, well, it's basically off. This looks completely flat, like there's no markings or anything on it. Okay. And we bring the ring light up. And again, we can find a kind of a sweet spot where the markings become visible, okay? There's another one. Yeah. More notable on this one. This one's a little bit easier to read. Okay. As we turn up the lighting, it gets like a more sharply defined image, the best way I can describe it. Like you can see the actual grain in the actual plastic that the IC is made of. You know, like, see that? So this is why I say the lighting works very well on this microscope. And I think that anti-reflective filter makes this somewhat stand out, to be quite honest. I mentioned it's very easy to look, for example, into connectors on things like motherboards with this. So you can see in the inset picture, I've just put the microscope towards the edge of the desk, but it's still on the base stand, so it's not going to topple over or anything like that. Okay, let's have a look. So I can very easily hold this here. In fact, you can see straight away a damaged USB there. Yeah. You can also check, for example, things like these USB 3 are actually genuine with enough connections in them. So this is very, very easy to do with this microscope. I'm not saying you can't do this with other microscopes, but straight out of the box, this is ideal for this sort of use. And that, I think, is really good. Now we'll have a look at extreme magnification. So I have the microscope maybe 3 centimeters or something above the PCB. It possibly go a bit lower than this, but we're extremely close to it. I've also put the microscope into 4K mode, so we can now see just how close we can get with this without losing resolution. Using the digital zoom, okay. It's so close now, I mean, just touching the board moves a long way, yeah? Get the focus. The extreme magnification on this is just amazing. Look at that, guys. Here, for example, is a very small, I think there's something like 2 millimeters square. This is a LED, tiny. These are the programmable, addressable type. I'll just show you what I can see on the screen here. So this is the viewfinder, if you like, here, like the low magnification, so I can actually move that into position, and as I get it into that inner square, you'll see it appear in the large magnification there, yeah? So this really makes it easy to find extremely small components, okay? Like, for example, there where it was sticking to the end of my tool. Okay, so that's that mode. I think this is about the highest magnification I've ever seen on the digital microscope that actually gives a very good picture. We can also just play around with the lighting a little bit. Now you can see the effect of the ring light. Yeah. Very nice. Another interesting feature is the split mode and freeze mode. If we go to freeze mode, so we'll just go to shortcut, press OK. Freeze mode. So we press OK on this one. Now in freeze mode, you'll see that I can either press the OK button on the microscope or just use the remote and press OK. If I press OK, that freezes the image on here, but the image on the screen through the HDMI is still moving. So this is quite useful if you want to compare two boards. So you've got a reference on here, and then you've got your board, maybe looking for missing components if you're repairing multiple items of the same sort. And then we have the split mode as well, which is a similar thing. We go to shortcut again, and this time we choose split. This is similar to how I showed you working before, but we can use just this screen. So, menu, come out. You can see we have a moving image here. We press OK at any point. And we have a frozen image on the right. I can move to somewhere else. For example, press OK. Frozen image on the right. So this is a way to compare two boards, or for example a board that has multiple sections repeated the same over and over again, and you can again easily look for missing components and such like. And the 4 gives you like a kind of like a 4-way thing, and you can save up to 3 frozen images and have 1 moving. So I'm not sure for myself exactly how useful I would find it, but I think more in a production environment where you have many, for example, PCBs of the same type, and you want to just check they're all made correctly, this could be very useful. I've now gone into the menu, and I'll show you where I changed this. I have an option here with the crosshair, okay, I can set it to ruler, and you can now see a graticule on the screen, okay. Now, I spoke to Tomlov about this because I asked them if there was any way you can actually calibrate this, and they said you can do it on your PC screen using some software, which I'll actually link to this video description. But I actually figured out quite easily that you can do this anyway. So what you can do with this, you can take a ruler, either metric or imperial, and you can line up the graticule on the ruler with, for example, I'm on 9 centimeters there, and then I can set this. So I can see here, this actually says 20, might not be very clear on my webcam. So I need to zoom out somewhat from here. Okay, we'll try here, we'll just focus it. Okay, and again I can line up the line here onto the center mark, and that's now on about 17 here. So I need to zoom out further, and by making a few adjustments I can set this so the 20 lines up with 2 centimeters on my ruler. I can now use this, for example, to measure pin spacing on things like connectors if I want to know, or for example the footprint for some part. So I can now literally use this graticule, you can see it, against the pins, and I can measure how far they are apart. In fact, they're 1 millimeter apart. We can measure SMD components, and if we use an imperial ruler, we can get imperial readings if you want. This is actually clearer than you guys can see it. It's because I'm using the webcam to film it. Unfortunately, this option doesn't appear on the monitor screen, which would be nice, but it's still useful and usable. One more thing I would like to show you, and that is connecting the device by USB to my PC. I now have 2 options at the top of the screen. This appeared automatically when I connected the USB cable. I have UVC and MSDC. UVC means that the microscope is now a video source. I can add that into my OBS, I'll show you in a moment. MSDC basically means it's like a USB pen drive or storage drive. So if I press OK, I can now add the microscope as a capture device in OBS. It's there, okay. So we're now actually viewing from the microscope in USB mode. I'll just remove that so you can see. So once again, with the USB mode, we have a smooth movement, maybe not quite as smooth as a HDMI, but it is still smooth. However, when you're in USB mode, you can no longer access the menus. I asked Tomlov about this, and basically with UVC mode, it becomes a slave device to the computer. That's the way the mode actually works, not necessarily how this microscope works. That's just how that mode works. So in my opinion, you're better connecting the microscope either to a monitor directly via HDMI external, or if you want to record like I do, use a HDMI to USB 3 capture card. And then it's a great tool for making videos. And I can tell you guys, you're going to see this in use on my repair videos. So I hope you like that look around. That isn't all of the features. We have a live stream coming up on Sunday on the electronics channel. We can try the microscope over on the live stream. So if there's any other features you'd like to see on this, come along and join in and we'll all do it live, yeah? If you're interested in this microscope, the link's in the video description below. So get down there and have a look yourself. And for myself, I'd just like to say thanks for watching. Thank you to Tomlov for actually sending me this free of charge. Although I have not been paid to make this review, this is my honest opinion and I do like it. I will be using it. So I hope to see you all soon again on Learning Electronics Repair. Ciao for now, guys.